In this episode of 0 Days, I'm going to show you how to paint up some aluminium toolboxes in a way that the paint will stick forever and be better than, you know, a little rattle can colour that goes all scratchy when you hit it with your tools. So one of the most important and overlooked things that people do whenever they're painting just about anything, but especially something that's just been welded and oiled and greased up, and some big hairy dude's just been like grubbing himself all over it, just sliming bits and pieces, squirting oil. It's just, these things are just covered in. So to correctly sanitize your parts that you're going to paint, wash them down with a bit of kind of dishwashing liquid or dish soap, and then once they're dry, get onto them with a bit of wax and grease remover or Prepsol and a good clean cloth, and just rub them so good. Now, if you're not like me and you like wrapping Christmas presents, then you'll love masking stuff, because I certainly don't enjoy it. But I've reached a certain zen point where I can sort of carefully do it, and I've just figured out little ways that don't drive me crazy. But ultimately, this is my least favourite part of any spray job, is just carefully masking. It's just fiddly, and it's best left to your sister. And so, you know, you can be thorough with it. I mean, my advice is get a razor blade and some scissors and just take your time and don't try to smash it out. But yeah, it makes me want to smash something else, I tell you. But anyway, you know, you do what you got to do. For a lot of people, it's the sanding that they don't like, but I don't sort of mind it. It's probably the only exercise I get, you know. Instead of lining up for the gym like my gym bros, I'm in here like sanding stuff for 16 hours at a time. So here I'm started off with like a red Scotch-Brite and just went over the entire surface fairly arduously, especially with this checker plate. It was not ribbed for my pleasure. But that's what the paint hangs onto. Those tiny little scratches are like little valleys that the paint settles into and creates a key or a grip. And it's apart from being clean, it's the number one thing that's going to make that paint really hang on. So 4 million hours later, I broke out the air tools. This one's a grey Scotch-Brite that fits onto my DA sander, which is excellent. You don't have to do it this way, but tell you what, did this save me some trouble. And because I love sanding so much, decided to bust out the 400 wet and dry, just give her a bit of a dry rub, just to bring it home, just to spend another 6 hours sanding, because it's such an enjoyable thing to do on a Sunday afternoon. And before I give them a go, I'm actually going to wet this down and rub them over again with a bit of wax and grease remover rather than just spraying it on. Then next up is the exciting etching. So there's etch primer is pretty much the same for 2K as well as just single stage. And so before I do that, I'm going to hit it with a little bit of grip, then the etch, then epoxy, then paint. So now we're getting down to Korean barbecues. Laying down a little bit of adhesion promoter to start with, then hitting it with the etch primer, and to really, it's like an acid etch, kind of bites into the surface. So aluminium just has no chance of resisting anything after all of that. I mean, you could just put down epoxy primer, it would probably do the job, but if you go these extra steps, then you know it's 100% going to stick. So then you know for sure your paint job is going to last for years. Or until, you know, Macca throws your drill in there like it's nothing and just smashes the toolbox back of your butt. So just stirring up a little epoxy primer, getting it ready. So it's half an hour later. I've let the primer dry, and I'm going to hit it with this, the epoxy 2K. It is good stuff. It's 4-to-1. Just follow the directions. You can't really go wrong. Adhesion promoters and etch primers aren't too bad, not particularly toxic, won't really hurt you. But this epoxy stuff, it's nasty. You don't want anything to do with that. So I got filters going in and mega filters going out of this room, and I'm head to toe in a very torn up piece of crap old spray suit, but I don't want anything to do with this stuff in my lungs, on my skin, on my Vegemite on toast, in my coffee. I don't want anything to do with epoxy primer. The stuff is straight death. So is the clear coat on 2K. The base coat, not so much, but clear coat and epoxy primer, you just stay away from. Just don't be knocking around town with it. I've said enough. So I've let the epoxy primer to cure for a couple of hours. I went away, played some backgammon with my gran. No, she's dead. And put down a little bit of base coat next. Just give it a little wipey wipe because I dripped paint everywhere onto the, luckily the inside of the toolbox. But yeah, then I get the base coat and spray it around, starting with a nice even, fairly light coat. And the good thing is that the epoxy is fully dry. I have been having a few troubles where I wouldn't give it long enough. I'd come back and start spraying. You get something called solvent pop, little like fish eyes in the paint. I've learnt the hard way through many failures on top of failures, and there's always a way to fix it. It's just paint. Keep that in mind. Just sand it off, do it again. No big deal. Or just don't do it and leave it and drive around in your car like that. I don't care, Darren, how your car looks, mate. So anyway, yeah, just slapping a bit of base coat. I'm sorry about the Vaseline type lens. I put a little plastic bag over my GoPro to try and show you point of view spray painting, and it looks like I've tried to do Days of Our Lives Kiss camera with the glossy look, but I quite like it. It looks like garbage and it looks like you're swimming in a chlorinated pool, but yeah, it works. So the thing that makes this job tricky is that I'm painting the insides and the outside. So in order to protect these from corrosion and the aluminium to last for years and years, I'm painting them in and out. But that means I can't paint the bottom side. I could hang them, but I'll hang them from the lid, but that doesn't really work. So it's kind of a two-stage paint job with some masking. A little bit tricky, not as straightforward as you'd think. The main complication is just that jam. So if the door's open, then I can't paint in the jam. And if the door's sort of semi-shut, I can't really hang it. The only real way to do it is in 2 steps. So if you've got a method for doing that, somehow painting inside and out with the door shut enough so that you can spray in all the jams and around the edges all in one go, just face plant your keyboard and tongue me out a message on how to do that in the comments, or, finger bang your phone, because you're more than likely sat down on the porcelain watching this. So just, thumb me out a how-to in the comments. Or if you've got any ideas on how you would do it, just let me know. About an hour later, I'm mixing up a little clear coat, and I just wanted to show you my WS400 Iwata clear coat gun. It's a 1.3 tip. It's a beautiful beast. I've got my sort of primer gun and I've got the base coat gun, and this one is the stallion of the stable. This is the one that I really value and also cost more than the other 2 guns combined. So yeah, about to put down some clear. You don't have to be that fancy. You could easily get away with just a good DeVilbiss 1.4mm tip gun and just do everything with it and look after it like it's your firstborn. Not your second-born, or definitely not your third-born. Don't treat it like, I'm just saying, just give it a good, just be careful you go and clean it out, and you should be good to go. You don't need 400 guns like me. So they came up pretty well, looking nice. Probably thinking to yourself, why did you go from bright silver to, a nice bright silver, but it's actually matched to the car, matched to the ute, and the aluminium has a way of oxidizing out so that it looks really bad, whereas this will protect it for years and years and years, so long as it doesn't get too beat up. Fast forward to the next day. I've masked up the boxes, cleaned them all off, hit them with the adhesion promoter, then the etch primer, then the epoxy primer, a couple of coats of base, and they're looking pretty good. And then I had washed out my clear coat gun, put it all apart, and I'm just sort of retuning it, as you can see here. So the trick, I think, is to open the fan all the way up, the top nozzle, next nozzle, hold the trigger flat and wind the fluid doobly-doo in until you just feel it push against the trigger, and that's full open, and then just put like half a turn more in. And then go to about 25 PSI on your gauge if you can get your hands on one, or just wing it from the compressor. You should be good to go, and then just adjust up from there. Just start spraying away and try not to make it run everywhere. So there you have it. She's all done. We've coated her up. It's looking like a million, well, 60, a couple of hundred. It's looking really good. Look at it. I mean, everything is blended in nicely. There's no issues or anything like that. Finish is really good, inside and out. She's a win. It's a beautiful job. This is going to match the car that's going. I can't show you because it's a friend's, dad's, uncle's, nephew's, parents. It's not mine. And yeah, so, but yeah, it's two reasons: to match it to the car, to look a bit slicker, not just that copper plate look, checker plate look, and yeah. Also because it's going to go on a boat that's it's going to go on a car that is going to be around the salt water. And the aluminium oxidizes and goes all powdery and terrible. So this is a coating that's going to protect it for many, many years to come. And I hope he's really happy with the finished product. So yeah, hopefully you enjoyed that video. Leave a thumbs up, leave a little comment down below, maybe hit the bell. You know, and if you're up to it, send me a pile of cash. And I need to borrow your wife, and I need like loads of money, and your firstborn, and actually I kind of need your soul. Anyway, no, just thumbs up would be heaps.